Hey, what's up guys? In today's video, we're going to be going over some interesting PlayStation news. If you end up enjoying the video or finding it informative, drop it a like, and if you want to stay up to date on the latest PlayStation news, make sure you subscribe. So the first topic in the video is about how apparently there may be co-op coming to Spider-Man 2. So we're going to be reading from Game Rant where it says Marvel Spider-Man 2 co-op may have been confirmed. As players dive into the data of Marvel Spider-Man on PC, they find a strong indication of co-op play coming to Marvel Spider-Man 2. When Marvel Spider-Man launched for the PS4 back in 2018, it gave fans an authentic, web-slinging experience complete with an interesting narrative and plenty of villains to fight. Both general audiences and critics gave Marvel Spider-Man strong reviews, and the game proved to be popular enough that players were demanding a sequel from Insomniac Games following its release. Last year, Insomniac confirmed Marvel Spider-Man 2 was on the way, and since that announcement, many have been constantly speculating on what they might see in the upcoming game. The first trailer for Marvel Spider-Man 2 teased a lot, including the appearance of Venom. The symbiote is one of the many iconic Spidey villains expected in Marvel Spider-Man 2, but some are wondering how Peter Parker will be able to stand up to so many powerful enemies. This has led many to believe that due to the existence of Miles Morales in Marvel Spider-Man, that a co-op feature will be available in the second game. Thanks to some data miners, it seems there may be some proof of that theory. Twitter user Dwayne Tamp recently showed off some screenshots of the code of Marvel Spider-Man Remastered, which is the PC port of the 2018 title. In those screenshots, there is a clear reference to co-op as something in the game's code, alongside what could be a competitive feature as well, including labeling either Peter Parker or Miles Morales as the superior Spider-Man. Looking at the superior Spider-Man reference in the code, it could be that there is a plan for Marvel Spider-Man 2 to have a minigame allowing two players to compete against each other. Of course, fans were more drawn to the idea of beating up Spider-Man 2's villains with a friend than competing against that ally for the title of Superior Spider-Man, and it seems that the second screenshot does point more towards co-op potentially coming to Marvel Spider-Man 2. Some believe it could be a planned feature for Marvel Spider-Man Remastered, but it could be the case Insomniac is planning on expanding New York to have space for two playable Spider-Men. Even with these files seemingly pointing to co-op being implemented in Spider-Man 2, some fans still aren't convinced. Many pointed to the fact that Insomniac denied the feature would be in Marvel Spider-Man 2 as firm evidence that co-op wouldn't be in the game. However, it has been the case before that game developers have told a small lie in order to have a big reveal down the road, so fans should keep their eyes on Marvel Spider-Man 2 as more information comes out. And so yeah, I find this very interesting because, I'm extremely excited for Spider-Man 2 when it comes out next year. And, obviously it's going to be a single player, narrative driven game. But ever since we got that first teaser trailer and we knew that Miles Morales was going to be in the game as well, and it showed Miles and Peter fighting enemies together, it got people thinking oh, is this game going to have co-op? Can you play with your friend in the campaign at this, one of you play as Peter and then the other plays as Miles and you can just go through the game together, and we still don't know. Even if that ends up being a thing, I'm not going to be doing that because I like playing games by myself. I like playing just single player story games for the most part, so it would be cool if this was a feature, but I don't think it's going to be. I feel like it'll be straight up single player where only one player can play, and it's scripted. You start the game playing as Peter, and then you do one mission, and then it goes over to Miles' perspective, and then it swaps like that. I feel like that's how it's going to play out. I don't think it's going to be oh, you can choose to play Spider-Man 2 through Peter's perspective, and then once you beat the game, you can start over and then play it through Miles' perspective. I feel like it'll be it depends on what mission, and then it swaps in between, and it'll be scripted like that, you can't really choose who you're playing as. But who knows? As we get new updates for this game, as we get closer to launch next year, at some point we will know whether or not this ends up being true. But what do you guys think? Down below, let me know your thoughts on how apparently there is a chance that Marvel Spider-Man 2 will be introducing co-op. Moving on to the next topic in the video, we're going to be going over a new trailer that we got for God of War Ragnarok. So we're going to be reading from Game Rant where it says God of War story recap prepares players for Ragnarok. Ahead of God of War Ragnarok's November release, Sony releases a new story recap to get players up to date on the events of 2018's God of War. After 4 long years, the end is finally near as God of War Ragnarok rapidly approaches. With such a wide gap in between releases and with a ton of story information that players should remember before the journey continues, Sony released a story recap to refresh players on what took place in Kratos and Atreus' previous adventure before God of War Ragnarok launches this November. Narrated by Dragon Age Redemption star Felicia Day, the video shows Day in a home in the midst of Fimbulwinter. She reflects on the weather and others to read a book for viewers, with each title cleverly titled to reflect a piece of the series' history until she finally settles on God of War. One of her personal favorites, God of War centers on the adventure of a father and son whose actions set in motion events that lead to the Norse Armageddon and the greatest war the Nine Realms have ever seen. Of course, it wouldn't be a proper story time without the aid of the smartest man alive, Mimir, or as Kratos calls him, Head. Early on in Day's narration, Mimir hijacks a recap of the story by going into details about his previous life and the events that led him to being imprisoned before Kratos and Atreus find him. For a floating head, the former advisor of Odin turned prisoner became a staple and a balancing force between the dynamic of father and son as they embarked on a journey of battling gods and forming bonds. As Day's recap of the previous game comes to a close, Mimir urges her to continue the story until the outside world warns her to think otherwise. And so yeah, for those of you who haven't seen this new trailer, I'm going to be playing it in the background so you guys can see it for yourselves. And I'm not going to lie, when I first woke up and I saw that, on Twitter, PlayStation tweeted saying like, oh, new trailer for God of War Ragnarok, I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. But then come to find out that it was just a recap of God of War 2018's story to get people ready for Ragnarok. And I was like, oh, okay, so I watched the video. It's like about 7 minutes long, and honestly, I thought it was really well done. I thought it was very creative. I could see why a lot of people were maybe annoyed because they were expecting like gameplay for God of War Ragnarok or something like that, and I didn't mind it because God of War Ragnarok is one of those unique games where Sony does not have to market the game at all. They literally just have to say, oh, we're making God of War Ragnarok. It's the sequel to God of War 2018, and it's coming out at this certain time, and it's going to sell millions and millions of copies. Like, it's not like this is a new IP. Like, anyone that has played God of War 2018 is already sold on God of War Ragnarok. Of course, it would be nice to see gameplay, but we all know the gameplay is going to be phenomenal. And apparently there's been leaks coming out for God of War when it comes to like Odin's character design, like the way he looks, and some gameplay, which I'm not going to show because I haven't seen it myself. If this is the last thing that we get before the game comes out, I'm totally fine with that, and I actually hope that happens, even though there's no way that's going to happen because Sony is going to market this game at least a little bit. Like, at the very least, we'll get another trailer, if not like a dedicated state of play, showing off like a slice of gameplay, but yeah, I thought this new trailer was very well done. Yeah, it obviously just covers like the main plot points of God of War 2018 because the game's like a 30-hour long story, so you can't really summarize that in 7 minutes without skipping like a lot of the details. But yeah, overall it was a really good video, and yeah, in my personal opinion, I feel like Sony's lack of marketing for God of War Ragnarok is actually doing the game a solid. I know most of you will probably disagree with me and you're like, what are you talking about? Like, they have to put out gameplay and stuff to sell people, and I just believe that God of War Ragnarok will speak for itself because I know that Sony knows the type of game they have on their hands, and they've obviously seen it already and they know how good it's going to be. And they're like, you know what? We're just going to have the game talk for itself. We don't need to put stuff out whenever the game comes out. People are going to play it, they're going to buy it, and they're going to talk about it, And so yeah, what do you guys think? Down below, let me know your thoughts on this new trailer for God of War Ragnarok. Did you think it was good? And also let me know if you're on the side that wants to see more gameplay when it comes to God of War Ragnarok. Moving on to the final topic in the video, we're going to be going over how Horizon Forbidden West has won an award for their Decima engine. So we're going to be reading from PlayStation Universe, where it says Horizon Forbidden West Decima engine wins SIGGRAPH 2022 award. SIGGRAPH 2022 has announced that it has awarded the Gong for Real-Time Live Best in Show to Horizon Forbidden West Decima engine. Guerrilla Games' flashy piece of tech has been a huge success beyond Horizon, as the developer has been happy to distribute the engine to other studios, including Kojima Productions, which used the Decima engine to power Death Stranding. And so yeah, I mean, not a huge article to read, but yeah, I mean, I just wanted to talk about this because I mean, yeah, this is very nice to see that, you know, Guerrilla Games is being awarded for their engine, because I mean, the Decima engine, it's not like, in my opinion, it's not the best engine that PlayStation uses, but it's very, very good. Because I mean, for those of you who have played Horizon Forbidden West, especially on the PS5, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of that game's story, like, you can't deny the graphics, especially it being an open world game, and especially the character models, the way their face looks, it literally looks like a real life human. Like, whenever I was first playing Forbidden West when it first came out, I was comparing the graphics, at least when it comes to the character models, to The Last of Us Part 2. I still think I give a slight edge to The Last of Us Part 2, you know, but Horizon Forbidden West comes very, very close. And I mean, obviously this engine is very good because they let Kojima and his team use it for Death Stranding, and Death Stranding looks really, really good as well. And that's also another open world game. It's just nice to see that Guerrilla Games is being acknowledged, that they have a really good engine. And I mean, I'm sure they're going to get a new engine for their next PS5 game, or like a better version of the Decima engine. But yeah, I mean, I thought I'd just give you guys this update on Horizon Forbidden West winning an award for their engine. And so yeah, what do you guys think down below? Let me know your thoughts on Guerrilla Games winning an award for their Decima engine. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it or found it informative, drop it a like, and hit the subscribe button by turning on the post notification bell so you don't miss my next upload. Until next time guys, take care.